Which of the following is not necessary to establish negligence? What do we always say? Insurance companies are never going to pay for acts that are what?
D, intentional.
Intentional, right? If you intentionally burn your house down, the insurance company is not going to pay for it, right? You can't drive your car into a building and expect your insurance carrier to pay for it, right? It's never intentional acts, right? It's never with intent. Samuel was driving at night when an oncoming car swerved into his lane. Samuel had time to swerve his car off the road to avoid an accident, but froze up and was hit by another vehicle. The driver of the other vehicle may be able to use which of the following in defense of his position that he was not totally at fault?
C, contributory negligence.
Close.
Would that be D, intervening clause?
A, comparative negligence.
Comparative. Yep. So remember with comparative and contributory. Contributory says if you contribute it in any way, the insurance isn't going to pay for it, right? Because you had something to do with it, you contribute it, we're not going to pay. Comparative, they're going to compare who was more at fault and pay accordingly, right? So the person that was swerved into the lane, they were more at fault, right? But the other person still contributed, right? So they'll compare who was more at fault. That's going to be comparative negligence. The NFL is being sued by a number of former players for head injuries. What is one defense available to the NFL?
D, assumption of risk.
Assumption of risk, right? You knew before you became a football player, there was a chance you could get hit in the head. You assumed that risk. If an investigative consumer report is made on an insurance applicant, which of the following laws gives the applicant the right to request a personal interview?
Freedom of Information Act, B.
Would it be Fair Credit Reporting?
Fair Credit Reporting Act. Yep. That's the one that says that insurers have to inform the applicant that a credit check may be done, right? We call it credit check. They're going to call it consumer investigative report, right? Or consumer report. That's just a credit check, right? So what started that, what put that into effect, that's the Fair Credit Reporting Act. An insurer's right to cancel a policy is often limited by state laws, but is generally permitted under which of the following conditions?
C.
Yep, non-payment of premium, right? The insurance company is absolutely going to cancel that policy if you don't pay for it, right? 100%. Joseph was in a car accident in which his car was totaled. His insurance paid all of his repair bills, even though Joe was deemed not at fault. After Joe was indemnified by his insurance carrier, his carrier then started the process of being reimbursed for the claim from the at-fault party. This process of going after the third party for payment reimbursement is known as what process?
C, subrogation.
Subrogation, right? Exactly. It's the process of transferring the right to your insurance company. Your insurance company then goes after the third party. That is the process of subrogation, right? And again, if you read through these other options, these other option choices seem like the obvious answer, right? Recovery. Right to recovery, right? Don't fall for what they're trying to do to you there. Don't fall for the obvious answer. Go for the term, right? The actual definition, which is subrogation. A company has liability insurance from two policies written for different amounts. If the company sustains a covered loss, how will the loss be paid?
Would that be C, pro rata?
Pro rata benefits equal to the proportion of the policy limits of each policy will be paid, right? They'll pay their proportionate share. And if you read through the other option choices, even if you aren't sure that was the answer, you can probably do process of elimination. Double the benefits will be paid. No, right? Insurance companies are never going to pay twice of what they're supposed to pay, right? So no. The policy purchase first will pay the entire claim. No, that doesn't even really make sense, right? And then no benefits are payable since this is illegal. It's not illegal to have two different insurances, right? You can have a primary and a secondary. That's not illegal, right? So even if you weren't sure, you could probably do process of elimination and get it down to either a 50-50 shot or probably figure it out altogether. Property coverage that does not require a specific limit of insurance for each item to be insured is called?
E, dog.
Yep, blanket, right? So remember last week we talked about specific and we talked about blanket. Right, specific does require that specific limit, right? Each thing to be written out, each thing to be listed or named. Blanket, remember I said picture a big blanket going over top and it'll cover anything that falls under it, right? It doesn't require everything to be specifically listed. Compensatory damages are awarded.
Is it C for actual loss?
It is C, yep. And remember with that one, think they're going to pay for the actual loss, right? They're actually compensating for the damage that happened. Punitive damages are intended to do all of the following except,
B, compensate for actual financial losses.
yep, exactly, right? We just answered over here that that's not punitive damages, that's compensatory damages, right? And you'll have that on the exam too. And I know I always say it's easier said than done to remember 150 questions, but that'll happen on the exam where you have answers that you just answered a few questions ago, right? Use that to your advantage. You just answered here that compensatory damages are awarded for the actual loss suffered. Then it says punitive damages are intended to do all of the following except compensate for the actual financial losses, right? Again, that's not punitive, that's compensatory. All of the following losses are considered special damages except,
Would it be A, cost to repair the damaged property?
D, mental anguish.
Yep, except for D, mental anguish. So remember, you have special and you have general. Special is going to pay for all of these, right? Your damaged property, something you can put your finger on, right? The ascertainable losses, right? Damaged property, lost wages, medical expenses, right? The actual thing that was damaged. General is going to be your humiliation, your pain and suffering, your mental anguish, right? Kind of your intangible items. Damages awarded by a court that are intended to punish the offending party for extreme negligence are called
C.
punitive, right? Remember, punitive goes with punishment, right? Anything that's grossly negligent, right? Sexual harassment claims. And we kind of answered that up here, right? Punitive damages are intended to do what? Make an example of bad behavior, discourage other people from doing wrong, discipline the insured, right? Set an example out of them, punish the insured. That's punitive. All of the following types of construction are subject to functional replacement cost, except
D, modern.
except for modern, right? Functional replacement cost is like your older homes, right? Something that has very custom, ornate detail, right? That's going to be where functional replacement costs in. We're going to get it back to where it's functional, might not be as expensive material that you had before. Modern, you can walk into the store and buy it, right? You don't need functional replacement costs for that. Under a commercial auto policy, in the event of a loss, depreciation and physical condition will be considered when determining the
C, actual cash value.
Yep, that's your ACV, your actual cash value. Right. And again, this is what they're going to do on the exam. They're putting under a commercial auto policy. We didn't even talk about commercial auto policy yet, right? That might immediately make you nervous. It doesn't matter what they're talking about, right? Get to the core of what they're asking. It's what is the definition of actual cash value? Replacement cost minus depreciation, right? So what is taken into consideration with the depreciation and physical condition? Actual cash value, right? The rest of it doesn't matter.